What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of The Bullpen. Today, I got two of my favorite people on the entire face of the planet on the podcast today. I'm stoked to have this conversation just because I can't wait to dive into more of their story, how they've actually built what they've built, and just this. I can't wait because there's a lot to unpack here, right? So let me just give you guys kind of an idea. First off, the reincarnation of Thor is sitting right across from me. Literally looks like a perfect definition of a Viking, especially since the Northman just came out. This is perfect, man. I mean, have you seen it yet?
No.
Okay, you got to go see it, bro. You look just like the main guy, right? You do. Anyways, so my guests today, Dallas and Ellie McGee, right? McGee, I'm saying that last name correct, are the owners of DreadfullHippie. They've built a 7-figure business by setting large goals and breaking them down into achievable micro wins. Now, just to make sure you guys understand, if you guys are watching this, you know, Ellie, you have dreads, obviously, you know, the DreadfullHippie, which we're going to dive into, you know, just like the whole business. Where did this even come from, right? For those of you listening, I just figured I'd let you know, so if you're not watching on YouTube, go watch it, right? They are a husband and wife duo that currently have over 30 employees on their team as they work hard to help as many people as they can feel confident in their own skin and make an impact on the world. They run a Utah-based business and a worldwide audience and community. Very true. Your guys' audience is massive, right? It's really cool to see. They love helping others start their own businesses as well as escaping the rat race. It is their mission to help as many people as possible build the life they want, which I'm glad you guys brought that up because I could talk about that forever, about the importance of actually owning a business. Anyways, there's a lot to unpack here, right? We're going to dive into all that good stuff, right? But Dallas, Ellie, the one question I have for everybody, what's your story? Right? Like, how did this even come about? How did you get to this point, you know, building this 7-figure business, having a massive audience? How did this happen? What's your story?
So, like, you want the beginning? Like,
break
where
it down.
Came from?
Yeah. Break down your story first off. How did you guys get to this point? How did you, from your relationship to the point in business? What's the story here?
We could tell you like step by step, I guess.
Break it down. Let's hear it.
Thanks for having us.
Of course, man.
Okay, so our story. Do you want to do the first part? That's all you. I wasn't even around.
By the way, this is the first time we've ever had two guests on the same podcast. This is gonna be awesome.
We're pretty much inseparable, so
yeah. Absolutely.
So basically, like what it boils down to, I had two best friends growing up from the time I was 2 years old. And they always had like the most beautiful, intricate hairstyles, like box braids and cornrows. And I just thought they were like gorgeous. I wanted to look like them.
Right.
So their mom would actually try and replicate those hairstyles on me. So I have like all these pictures of us as kids and just with unique hairstyles. And growing up, my hair just did not have very good genetics. It wouldn't grow past my shoulders. It was very thin, and I had just grown up just loving dreadlocks, wanting them so badly, but knew I could never do it because my hair wasn't growing. And if I did, you know, they'd be like, 2 inches long.
Right.
Like it would just not look good.
Yeah. Now, sometimes in dreadlocks, aren't you supposed to just like not wash your hair and then just like rub it together so it just becomes like a clumpy kind of thing?
Yeah. It depends on like if you want to do like a natural way, like you can do that.
Right.
Just
or there's
let
like
dread.
The braided ways. Okay, gotcha.
You can take like crochet hooks and whatnot. But
yeah, the tactical stuff.
So when I had turned 17, I had just, I was hating the way I felt about myself. I hated the way I looked. Because I feel like for a lot of people, confidence comes from appearance. Like that's kind of where it starts. And when your hair looked as damaged as mine did, it just sucked. So I was 17 years old in high school, and I was like, okay, well, I can either save up for a couple of years to be able to afford hair extensions. And then that's when it dawned on me, if you can do human hair extensions, you've got to be able to do synthetic dreadlock extensions. So I took the last $37 that I had in my bank account. I bought some hair for myself.
$37.
$37.
Okay.
Yeah, it was my birthday gift from my grandparents.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was left of it?
Yeah, what was left of it. And,
I was going to say 37 is an interesting number.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, so I bought hair. I messed around for a couple months, made them for myself, put them in, and it was like night and day difference the way I approached life, like the way I talked, the way I presented myself. And then I had a bunch of people coming up and asking me to make them some. I did. So that was November of 2016.
Okay.
And in December, I opened an Etsy shop, and then it just kind of blew up from there.
Yeah. Do you get a lot of you guys' traffic on Etsy? Is that kind of
not now? So we're not with Etsy at all anymore.
Oh, okay, got it.
Haven't been since 2019.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, gotcha.
So now we're on our own website. We have our own website, but Yeah, that was 5.5 years ago.
Uh-huh.
I did that for 2 years before I met him. And then after we got married, he, quit his job and kind of went full-fledged with Dreadful Hippie. And then I guess you can take it from there.
Yeah. Take it from there. Big Daddy Dallas.
Yeah. Shoot. I mean, what she was saying, I guess, like, taking over that part. Yeah, it was probably 4 or 5 months into marriage is when I was working for some software startup company, I was making residually $50 a month.
Nice.
Heck yeah. Dude. So she was paying all the bills with the income from Dreadful Hippie.
We were actually $60,000 in debt, not including vehicles when we were first married.
Is that from like student loans, cars, or just in general, all
just
total?
Credit cards, just everything. Like,
Hey.
Wedding ring, credit card.
Well, I mean, just getting married alone, just
Yeah.
getting married alone is expensive, and how that racks up, and if there was student loans and the cars, and starting out in marriage is like, it's expensive.
We had the repo man after us. We were having to hide his Jeep.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
like it was intense.
Did you park the Jeep in sideways in the garage so you couldn't get it?
Yeah. So, yeah, it was great. So there's just like, I mean, I was helping her we would do music festivals and stuff. And that was just kind of the big change for me is we went to a music festival down in Florida called Reggae Rise Up. And it was just like 3 days nonstop of me, her, and her little sister braiding hair for 12 hours a day, probably from 11 a.m. to midnight, really, is when the concert would get over. We didn't even go to the bathroom once. Our booth was so booked. The owner or like the coordinator of the whole festival would come over and bring us food because he's like, dude, you guys haven't like eaten anything.
Yeah.
We're like, we don't have time. So just seeing that like game changer, just seeing how everyone would like literally stand up taller, like our one of our biggest drives behind Dreadful Hippie is just helping people feel more confident in themselves. And I really got to see that as I would talk to people, they'd kind of like walk over and be like, see what this is about, whatever. And then we'd toss one or two dreads in their hair and they'd like stand up taller. They're like dancing to the music, playing off in the background.
Right.
And it was just really cool. So I'm like, okay, well, like, that was awesome. What can we do from here? So since I was 21, I was in some kind of sales job, right? And I was actually pretty good at it. I was top sales rep, top 2 back to back for a couple of years, over 100 sales rep working at some like phone, call center.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, let me see what I can do with this because I would pretend to be her in our DMs.
Oh, okay.
I'm not a very like sweet, like I'm not like the emoji, validating type of person in messages. So that's all him.
Okay.
So I would,
Smiley,
hey girls, this would look so cute on you.
Yeah, because we got a lot of inquiries in our DMs like, hey, what color would look best? I'm like, oh, first off, you're beautiful. So like 90% of the time it was me responding to the DMs, and we would do that till 1 or 2 in the morning, wake up at 4 or 5 and go to work and then come home and do it over and over again. We did that for the first 4 or 5 months before I finally was like, okay, I'm gonna quit my job and let's take this full time. Let's see what we can do with it. We had no idea it'd be at the point that it's at now. Because at that time we were doing $2 or $3 grand a month in revenue.
Yeah, nothing.
Like barely.
Just starting.
Bills and food and
Right.
So that's where it went.
So that was in 2019.
That was July of 2019.
So where did everything blow up for you guys? What was the big thing that happened, do you think?
I would say two or 3 weeks after I quit my job is when our Etsy shop actually got shut down.
So that was a little traumatizing because that's where all of our income was coming from. So this is
Why
kind
did
of
it get shut down?
Etsy is very
some shipping dispute.
Yeah.
We got it taken care of.
Yeah.
Like we took care of our customer, but Etsy just
honestly, I think it was God's way of saying, this is your fight or flight moment. Is this going to be what you're going to do?
Yeah.
Because that was terrifying. It was terrifying.
Right.
So we kind of had, we were 3 days till rent was due, and so we were like, okay, well, we can either sit here and cry and whatever, or we can stand up, go figure out how to do a website. We actually started on ClickFunnels. We did the 100-day or whatever.
One funnel away challenge.
Yeah, so that's what we did. made a website, and
with the
within
last $100 that we had to our name, by the way.
yeah. So this was kind of God's way of just being like, okay, you need to figure out what, like, if this is what you actually want to do. Yeah. So we opened the website. We were 3 days past rent being due.
Nice.
And the second we launched, we were able to have enough income come in so that we could pay rent.
That fast?
Yeah, because we had people that were wanting it.
You already had a base. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So we had our Instagram. We had like, what, 1,500 followers, you think, at that point?
But then it was kind of that moment that it just like exponentially grew. So that was 2019. 2020, February, we decided that we needed to just make our own website on Shopify. So we made our own Shopify website, and then COVID hit in March. And every business was freaking out. They didn't know what was happening. And we thought, well, this is it. Like, we're going back to the rat race, or I don't know, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And no, the actual opposite happened, because all hair salons shut down. All of these women that are going in and getting their hair bleached or colored, like, they couldn't do it anymore. People were very insecure in themselves just because the world was so up, like, no one knew what was going on. And women actually started coming in, like, once they realized that you can braid these in your hair yourself.
Right.
Without having to color your hair or anything.
Like, you could go from having red hair to blonde hair or whatever it is without dyeing it. Like, it kind of just blew up from there. So within a month, we started having to hire people out. And then we actually had so many orders come in. We went through all of our inventory. So we placed a new order of inventory, and we couldn't get it in for 3 or 4 months because COVID shut down everything.
It was sitting in customs for 2 or 3 months.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it was very intimidating.
Yeah, we just could have, like, our customers understood, you know, everything was backed up with COVID, but it was like, for 2 or 3 months, we had to stall, like, it's in customs, it's any day, any day.
Yeah.
They were understandable.
The thing is, though, that we have focused so hard on creating a community and being very transparent, and like, we're not a hair company. Like, we sell dreadlocks, but we're not a hair company. I feel like our company is more centered around just women or people in general empowering each other, and the dreadlocks is what, like, brings them together in a sense. Yeah. So yeah, it just exponentially started growing from there. Since then, we've 3x'd the company every year for the past 3 years.
Wow.
But yeah.
That's awesome. So let me ask you this, right? So you guys talk about the empowerment of, like, that's one thing I think people don't really realize. As much as we don't want it to be the case, our appearance matters.
It does.
It matters. It matters to us, and it matters to everybody else. And I know how much we want to, really get on this phase of, like, oh, it doesn't matter. It kind of does, though. And let's just own that. Let's own the fact that your appearance actually matters to you. And, and honestly, it's just gonna affect how you feel, right? Like, I've talked to people all about this all the time. What you put on your body, like the things you wear, says a lot about who you are.
Yep.
That's what we put out to the world, is our personality. Like the tattoos, or whatever it is. It's what you put out to the world, right? And something that is fascinating, I'm hearing you talk about this when it comes to, like, just like dreads. Well, just watching people just stand up just a little bit taller. Dude, it's like one of the most empowering things to finally do what you've always wanted to do, no matter what anybody says.
Yeah.
That's the thing I want to ask you about this. There's always these people, like, they want to do this in their minds, but then they don't know how their mom would take it. They don't know how their dad would take it, their friends, or just society in general. But the second they just get past that fear and step into it and do it, it's just this supreme moment of, like, yeah, you know what? Fuck it. Like, I do whatever the hell I want to do with my life, and that's one of the most empowering things ever. Like, and I'm curious, is there a lot of pushback in your okay?
Yeah.
Is there a lot? Because I have a feeling there would be, right? Yeah. We've had conversations before, and that's why I almost feel like the dreads is so fascinating, because it's such an empowering thing, because there's so much pushback. Am I right?
Well, I think the reason that there is so much pushback is because of the way they really do empower people. Because anything worth something that has any value to it whatsoever, there's always going to be opposition. Dreadlocks have literally been carried through just about every single culture, and every single culture in one way or another talks about the power of dreadlocks. The Hindus, from what I believe, or from what research I have done, they believe that your dreadlocks are, it's like an extension of your internal power.
Really?
Yeah. So it's like when you cut your hair, when your hair isn't locked, the power can just go anywhere and everywhere out into the universe.
Like Samson.
Exactly. So like Samson,
right? Okay.
if you want to talk about Samson, he had 7 locks on his head. Once Delilah cut them, he lost his power and he died. So there's like throughout
his eyeballs plucked out.
Yeah. So like throughout all of history, like there's different reasons, but it all boils back down to the way it makes them feel, to the power that comes from them. And I think that that's really the reason why there is just so much pushback. They like try to make it, a race war or a discrimination thing, but it really doesn't.
Right.
That's the thing is it just isn't that. So yeah, obviously I get a lot of pushback on, especially on TikTok, because everyone on there is, social justice warriors, little keyboard warriors, but
blank accounts.
But the second, it's very validating to me knowing that what I'm doing to bring unity between cultures is the right thing when I'm getting pushback. Sometimes it's very hard to just ignore it.
Yeah.
But seeing the way that it makes people feel is just, it's half the reward. So
and kind of adding to that, we have like a Facebook group, just kind of like a private community with 6,000 members in it currently, and like once a week we'll get a post like that where you were saying like, I'm afraid of what my husband's gonna say, my community, I live in this small town, like I'm afraid of what people are gonna say.
But you guys are both from Utah, right?
I am. He's from Missouri.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I was about to say here in Utah, I feel, the Mormon community, I don't know how they feel about it, right?
Yeah.
I really actually don't know.
It's very interesting. It's not what you would think. So when I served in the mission, or I served in the temple as a temple worker, and it was very interesting just seeing like the patrons coming in and seeing me as a temple worker, and like it just, I think this is another reason why I love it so much, is because I'm tearing down all the stereotypes associated with dreads. So seeing someone in the temple wearing dreadlocks, it's like, oh, like you would instantly assume, one thing and then realize that those things aren't true.
It's not quote unquote clean cut.
Yeah.
Right? That, or like, because my hair is not exactly clean cut, right?
Yeah.
People don't like that. It's supposed to have, the whole trim and everything like that. But
it makes people start thinking a different way. I like pushing people to think outside of what we've been taught. And I think this is a great way to do it. So.
Yeah. I was going to say, continuing mine, every time someone makes a post in the Facebook group saying, sharing their doubts, they'll get 70 or 80 comments on that post saying, girl, I was the same way. In fact, my community loves it. I come from the super conservative small town of 2,000 people, and everyone loves it. I haven't gotten any pushback or anything like that. It's like the world is a lot more open than we expect it to be. But another thing, too, is once you put the dreads in, so there's synthetic dreadlock extensions for those who haven't caught on. That's like the product that we sell in our business. But once you braid them in and install them, you stand a little taller. You do feel more confident. And it's hard for someone to come up to you and say something negative when you yourself are standing tall and confident. Like no one wants to say anything who's walking around with power radiating off their body.
Yeah.
That's it.
Right. That's fascinating. So, okay, so Dreadful Hippie has kind of taken form in its own shape. Let's just get this out of the way. It's obviously not just a hair business. Like that's kind of the main thing I'm understanding from this is like you could 100% have just hair business, dreads, and that's great, right? But you've definitely created more of a community based on empowerment and based on just living life the way you'd want to live it, pushing through what everyone else would tell you to do, right?
Yeah.
That kind of seems to be more of what Dreadful Hippie's about. Is that on par?
So we're not on paper we're a hair company.
Yeah.
That's what we sell.
Right. It's the product.
But that has nothing to do with it. If you think about it, it's plastic hair.
Yeah.
It's plastic.
Right.
It's not any different from a Tupperware.
Yeah.
Except for I give it value. It's the same product.
It's a little different than Tupperware.
It's made out of the same thing.
Right.
We're the ones who give it meaning. We're the ones who give it the power.
Yeah.
So
it kind of reminds me, like, everyone, I'm sure, at some point has either listened to snippets of Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why, or his TED Talk, where he kind of talks about Apple, that it's like, hey, we're changing the way whatever, like technology, communication, by the way, we sell cell phones.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of the same thing with Dreadful Hippie. It's like, hey, we want you to feel confident and empower yourself. By the way, we sell synthetic dreadlock extensions.
Yeah. Okay, so walk me through this then. So you guys, so we talked about this a little bit earlier about how you guys have actually put in a focus on helping people grow their businesses. Something you've helped with your families and friends, right? So walk me through that. Does that kind of have like the same, is that kind of the same idea behind Dreadful Hippie of the empowerment and taking, you know, power back in your own life? Is that kind of the thought process there? Or has that always been the goal, or is it taking shape as you've seen this community grow? Do you know what I'm saying?
I think when I first started, I mean, it was to satisfy my own desire of having dreadlocks. Little did I know it would make me feel the way that I did. And then other people wanted it. And I was like, okay, well, this is quick money. Like, that's what you think in the beginning of a business. And then it was, oh, look at how it's making people feel. This is something that I can pursue. This is something that's fun. Now we are helping people, you know, feel that confidence, feel empowered to be able to make the decisions that they want, to have the life that they want. And that's really what it boils down to. That's where I get the satisfaction from. I don't get satisfaction from orders coming in.
Yeah.
All that means to me is that someone is taking the steps that they need to have the life that they want. And that's what fulfills me. And so being able to see our own families and friends, like people who mean so much to us, like take those steps in order to live the life that they want, that's where is like, that is what's so rewarding for us. And that's all I care about. Like when I see, like when my parents got their first order, that was way more exciting to me than like having our highest month in revenue.
Yeah.
Like it was so satisfying. So that's like, that's really where I want to take our focus, is just helping other people have the freedom to do whatever it is that they want. Like for my parents, it's to have a relationship with their kids and to, like, I'm the oldest of 8 kids. Obviously family means a lot to them, but my dad's been working at UPS for so long that he hasn't been able to, you know, reap the benefits of having 8 kids.
Yeah. Right.
So
it's one thing that we really try to do is just give back the best we can. So giving a lot of credit to one of our good friends and mentors, Christina Kreidel. You've met her. She helped us and taught us everything that we know about building a brand and a community. And so we try to give back the way that she did, because she didn't need to take us under her wing. You know, she was already established in the hair community. And she saw the potential of Dreadful Hippie and said, hey, let me teach you how to do this, this, and this. And we did everything that she said to a T, and that's been a huge game changer for us. And we've tried to do our best to like teach those same principles to other friends and family or whatever. So that's what we find satisfying, because it's been something that was given to us without us even like asking for it, nor did we even like see the potential in it at the time. Yeah. So we just find that satisfying. We try to like do our best to help other friends do the same. And, you know, we've done it with her parents, and there's a few of our other friends who are like starting their own businesses, starting to get products in. Yeah. It's so satisfying watching them actually do it. Yeah. Because we've had a lot of friends that are what we'd call wantrepreneurs.
Yeah, right. There's a lot of those.
Hey, I've got this great idea. Everyone's got ideas, man. Yeah. Do it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know what's fascinating is like when you guys are talking about this business model and creating the community, this to me is actually the future of business, is the direct to consumer business, right? Because the thing about direct to consumer is you own the relationship with your consumer, right? Yeah. The difference of that is like technically you could take these dreadlocks and start going B2B, right? And by the way, there's a lot of business to be had in B2B, right? If that's your business model, right? But in regards to just selling directly to customers, people are struggling now to make sales to customers, especially new businesses, because they don't understand one thing, that you have to create a movement / community behind your product. Because at this point, anyone, anywhere can come up with an idea and can build a website on Shopify. Like literally, it used to cost a lot of money to build a website, right?
Yeah.
It used to cost a lot of money to actually generate sales and put out a marketing strategy. Now you can do it by getting someone on Fiverr, paying them $200 to set up your website on Shopify, right? Everyone can own a business, which is a good thing. It's also a bad thing, right? So in regards to how do you actually build your business, you have to own the relationship with your customer. Because you're like, so you could actually maybe you sell your product at Walmart, right? You sell to Walmart. Walmart has it listed, over in the hair section. I don't know, right? Or you could go to other salons and you could have them buy your product and sell it to their customers, right? But instead, you choose to create a community and a relationship with your customers, which creates loyalty, which creates a fan base, which creates a lot of empowering things that you own the relationship with. Because if you go to Walmart, these other businesses, they own the relationship. Even Amazon, because I do a lot of business on Amazon. Amazon actually is the one who owns the relationship, not us.
Yeah.
Which is actually super frustrating because we're going through a middleman. Now, can you make a lot of money doing that? Absolutely. But you have to understand the difference of, if that's your business model, who owns the relationship. What you guys have created there, which is why I love ClickFunnels so much. ClickFunnels is just basically a blank slate that allows you to develop your own community, right? Mm-hmm. In the same way that you would do on Etsy or on Amazon. You can create your own community using the platform, using direct funnels. And that's why I love funnels, because direct to consumer. Here's the product directly to who we think the audience is that would like this thing, right? So that's why it's so revolutionary what you guys are talking about here. You're talking about creating a community that if every entrepreneur understood, well, we'd have a lot more competition, right?
People crave authenticity now.
Yes.
They're so over the just, buying from essentially like a wall, like people they just want real people, because there's so much fake out there. I mean, you don't know what's real. Even half the stuff that's on like the news is fake, if not more than half. So it's just nice being able to put a face with a name.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I mean, because everyone talks about how do you stand out in the market, right? How do you create a niche product that stands out? Well, you be yourself.
You put your face on the internet.
Exactly. Because you know what? You'll reach people that I never will.
Yeah.
Because who you are is completely different than who I am. Same with you, right? You are all your own individual human beings with your own personalities, your own likeness, and what you like, what you believe in is different than everybody else. And so by being you and by being authentic, you stand out in the marketplace naturally.
Yeah.
Which is also the scariest part of it, because you being you and you standing out, putting your face on it, is also when you open yourself up to get attacked more.
Not only that, but I think that when you put your face out there, it's almost like, when you go on a website and they're like, sponsored by Forbes, or as seen on Forbes. I feel like when you put your face out there, it's almost has the same effect where it's like, okay, they're standing behind their product. This isn't just some fake scam,
right?
Or it just gives it a little bit more of validation,
right?
Like it's a good, worthy product,
right?
So yeah, because I think there's a lot of companies out there. I mean, we've all seen all the scams that are popping up where people are impersonating other people. Look at the people who are getting impersonated.
Yeah, no, seriously.
It's the people who are putting their faces out there on the internet.
Yeah. Do you know how many of the Bull Evanses are out there? There's the Bull with 4 L's. There's the Bull with 3 L's.
Underscore.
There's the Bull dot Evans. There's the dot Bull Evans. I'm like, I literally searched. I'm like, damn, like how many ways can you create this stuff? Like, it's crazy, man. I'm sure you guys probably have the same thing. You have just tons of that shit popping up, and it's never going to stop. It's never going to stop. You just have to own it, Wow, this is fascinating. So let me ask you a super important question. Do you ever get accused of cultural appropriation?
All the time.
Okay. Why is that? I'm really actually curious about this, right? Because are there cultures in the past that are, say just, like white cultures that have had dreadlocks in the past?
There are dozens.
Okay, like which ones?
So the Danish.
Okay, I was about to say the Vikings, because we got a Viking couple right here, right? And I don't know exactly what the Vikings looked like back then, but I know based off the history TV show they look like, right?
Yeah.
What Ragnar looks like or whatever, depictions,
the
or
Hollywood version.
Exactly, the Hollywood versions. I know I've seen it there, but anyways, keep going.
There are actually there's a lot of European cultures that do as well, like ones that I don't even know how to pronounce them. I'm not even going to try. Okay. I'm not even going to attempt. But I mean, there's accounts of, obviously there weren't photos back then, but there are accounts of Europeans saying like the Norsemen came down and they wore their hair like snakes. So you can interpret that however you want, but that to me sounds like dreadlocks.
Yeah, right.
Or Medusa, like she has her hair like snakes as well. And that's in Greek culture. I'm like, you can interpret that how you want, but to me, that sounds like dreadlocks. Some Asian cultures, when they go to battle, they would dreadlock their hair and they would dip the ends in red paint. There are a lot of different cultures that use them all in different ways. I think it's the Danish. They used to wear it's called a plate, and it is one long dreadlock, like just one big
old thick
one.
You know who does that is Derrick Henry. In the NFL, have you seen his hair?
Yes.
Dude, he's got this one big thick thing of hair in his back of his head. I'm like, what is that?
Wraps around.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, keep going.
Celts also call them glebes. There's
Celtic. Yeah. That's because the thing is, basically any culture except for Christianity, I feel like has had dreadlocks. Right? I mean, I don't think any time in Christianity, like, there's really been a dreadlock, thing. I mean, I don't know how far back that goes.
Yeah.
But if you look at any culture, it seems like Celtic, Norse, or, you go Asia, you go, any other culture. Well, dreadlocks and braids is kind of a part of the culture and always has been.
Yeah.
Right?
Or if you want to take it into the braids direction, the Europeans, if you look at any art from that time period, all of them have these incredibly long, thick braids, and their hair is always braided. It's never just like free flowing. So it's like braids, dreadlocks. They've been through every culture. They might be called different things. There's a French braid, there's a Dutch braid, there's box braids, there's whatever you want to call it.
Your glebes, your plates.
Your glebes.
Yeah.
They've all and it's all depending on like the language as well. Like, because when they were called glebes hundreds of years ago, maybe even thousands, who knows? It's like the word dreadlock didn't even exist.
Right.
So right now there's huge debate of saying that if you call them dreadlocks, it's racist or it's discriminative, so that you're just supposed to call them locks, and if you call them dreads, it's also rude. So it's like there's just like it's language, and I think words have meaning if you give them meaning. So if you want a word to be offensive to you, you're gonna find a way to make it offensive to you.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
I mean, you could take offense to anything you choose to.
Yeah.
Because taking offense is a choice. That, like, people need to understand that being offended is not an action. Taking offense is the action, right? I can say whatever I want to you, and if you choose not to take offense, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Because I can try to offend, right? Or even if I don't try to offend, I could still offend. If you choose to take offense, it's like giving offense is not necessarily the action. It's the taking of offense is the action, meaning being offended is a choice. Taking offense is literally your choice. So you can have the choice to not be offended. You can have the choice to be offended. And you know what we see? We see a lot of choices to be offended by a lot of crazy things at this point.
Yeah.
Like stuff you can't even believe. Like, people take offense to, like, you don't even know what to say at this point anymore. Just how much you could easily offend somebody by existing.
I think it goes a lot deeper, like in the sense that like you get out of life what you look for.
Yeah.
If you want to find the negativity and everything, I guarantee you'll find it.
Yeah.
But if you want to find the positivity and everything, you'll find that.
Yeah.
You determine your own life.
Right.
You determine how happy you are. It has nothing to do with other people. Other people are so worried about living their own life.
Yeah.
Like, why would you let somebody else who doesn't care about your opinion, why would you let their opinion of you matter?
Right.
And the bottom line is, like, we love what we do because it helps unite. We feel like, there's the people that are going to choose to be offended, and like we can try our best to help them the best we can. But like, there's a video on YouTube of this really, really cool dude who's a part of this African tribe, and he made a YouTube video, and he's like the title of the video is "Can White People Wear Dreadlocks?" And it's interesting because he brings up cultural appropriation, and he's like, if we want to talk about cultural appropriation, he's like, technically I'm appropriating my own culture because I have dreads while being married. Once you get married, you cut your dreads off.
In his tribe, it's that way.
In his tribe.
Interesting.
And it's like, okay, well, that's interesting. He's like, technically, I'm appropriating my own culture because I'm not doing it correctly. But I love my dreads. And he's like, but the bottom line is, at the end of the day, dreads and our hairstyles are the only thing that can unite the human race.
What? That's wait. The dread, like our hairstyles can unite the race. What do you mean by that?
Think about it. So like your hair, for example, you have like the faux hawk type.
Definitely do.
Mullet thing. It's like I lived
flowing at this point.
like I lived in South America for 2 years. That's an extremely popular hairstyle.
Yeah, right.
But you're not South American. Right?
Pero hablo español.
Así es.
Si quiere puedo vivir allá.
Sí.
So I'm appropriate. No, just kidding.
Yeah, so it's like at the end of the day, you know, my long hair is the same. Like anyone who grows their hair out, we have the same hairstyle. You know what I'm saying?
Regardless of skin color or where you grew up, or
it's like you can be Hispanic and have dreads. You can be black and have dreads. You can be white and have dreads. The common thing is we all have dreads. Right? So it's like the people who are always saying like, oh, you're cultural appropriating this culture and this culture. It's like, well, I don't know what else to tell you, but like we're all united.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when we go to other countries, like when we go down to the Dominican Republic,
they think that we're Dominican.
they literally thought that we were locals. So it's like, do I look like I live down
But they
here?
assumed because we
Depends
had
if you're
this
from Chihuahua,
hairstyle.
Mexico.
'Cause
You
I was speaking Spanish to him, and she had the dreads.
Yeah.
They're like, well, what part of the Dominican are you guys from? And we're like, we're from
They were like
Utah.
genuinely, so they couldn't wrap their heads around how I could have this hairstyle and not be Dominican. And then they were like, whoa, like other people wear this? Like they saw it as like you're taking a part in our culture, even though it's part of so many different cultures. Just people don't know that. So,
That's fascinating.
And Ellie's been wearing the dreads for over 5 years. There's been one person who has ever said anything negative to her.
2, and you witnessed one of them at the.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was an AlphaCon. Yeah, oh, sorry about that.
No, that was so funny.
we had to kick people out of AlphaCon. Yeah,
Great times.
yeah. Oh, wow.
But, you know, there's been thousands of comments online, but in person,
no one will
says
ever
a
say
thing.
anything.
Nothing but compliments from all types of skin colors or races or whatever it is.
Well, that's awesome. Wow, that's fascinating. Hair can unite the world. I have never heard that before. That is fascinating.
That is
stuff right
something
there.
that I believe. I fully believe.
Here's something that this might seem like a really dark thought, right? But this has been a thought process I've been having for a while. The idea of total unity will never, ever exist on this earth.
It's true.
Which doesn't still mean we shouldn't fight for unity. Doesn't still mean it's not a worthy cause. Just because, like, you know, and like that's the thing, is just because we will never fully have unity doesn't mean we should never still fight for it, right? Because even though you won't have unity of the entire world, well, you will have unity of your community, right? But when it comes to unity of the entire world, it's pretty simple to me. There's never been a single human being on the history of this planet that has been able to unite the world, and the closest I think we'll ever see was Jesus, right? And if Jesus couldn't unite the world, well, to me, that's a pretty, stark thing to be able to say, well, maybe the world was never meant to be united. Maybe it was meant to unite, certain people, right? People who are willing to fight for certain things, right? Because this is a fallen world. This is a mean and nasty place we live in, right? And just based on the existence that there is evil in this world means that the unity we're fighting for is to unite the good, right? Is to unite the good versus the evil. And at the end of the day, that is the fight, right? As much as we want to bring the evil to the good, we're trying to get as much as we can. But at the end of the day, it will never, ever exist to have total unity, which sounds like a really dark thought process.
Well, I think that's the way that it has to be. I mean, before we came to this world, a third went, like split. And then there were some that were on the fence.
Right.
This world is for the people who are on the fence to figure out what it is that they want.
Right.
So, I mean, if we came down here and it was all peaceful and, there would be it completely destroys the whole plan of why we were supposed to be here.
Right.
So,
agreed.
You have to have bad to recognize the good.
Exactly.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely.
Got to be
Yeah. I mean, without
unity,
dark,
division.
I mean, the first thing when God created the worlds, the first thing that was created was light.
Yeah.
Meaning, and if you really dive deep into that, what that means is that he separated the light from the dark. Meaning there was a separation. Not even just in elements of light and dark, in good and evil, there was a separation of a line drawn of what's right versus what's wrong, right?
Yeah.
That is what that means. And if you really break that down, that means the entire purpose of this planet, the entire purpose of our existence is to fight for good, to push through pain, to push through fears, to grow. Because the way this world is built is that if you push through pain, if you push through fear, if you push through the evil, you will grow. That's how it grows. You know, if you have to, it sucks that we have to tear our muscles in order for them to grow back again stronger, but that's just how it works. Mm-hmm. You know, if you want to get a physiological sense, how about a mental sense, right? If you want to grow as a human being, you have to push yourself through something that is extremely fucking painful, right? And you want to take that as an entrepreneur sense, because you guys are obviously have seen it. The pain that you've gone through to get to this point is a almost gauntlet that almost people have to pass through in order to get there. Because how many people have had an idea similar to yours and have then experienced the pain that you've experienced and then turned back?
It's the only way that makes anything worth anything.
Exactly.
If my parents just handed me over this business, like let's say my parents were the creators of Dreadful Hippie, it's been around forever, and they were just like, hey, like, because you were born, here's your birthright.
Yeah.
Like, it would tank.
Yeah.
There's no way it would survive past me.
Yeah.
But because I've had to work for it, therefore it has value.
Yes.
Nothing that was ever given to anyone is ever worth value.
Right.
So
yeah,
it's the whole analogy of the fish, like teach a man to fish, and like it's the same thing.
Well, I mean, you like, I really want to actually go back and highlight your guys' story. You guys are talking about how you barely had money for it, because you guys just casually said that, right? But let's actually just really talk about that. What people don't talk about, and let's really emphasize, is barely having money, for rent is the most stressful, the most difficult thing anyone could ever experience. Not like having the conversation of how are we going to budget our money for food and to live.
There were days literally we would use the last money on like some tacos at Taco Bell, and then the next day we would go drive down to my parents to eat the next day. Like, I'm not kidding.
Like, if you want to talk about that, dude, there were days that it sucked, and that was the first 3 months of our marriage. It's like, is this what it's supposed to be like? Is this marriage?
Yeah.
We were living in a 420 square foot apartment. That was our entire
We were
home.
illegally subleasing.
Don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone.
We won't tell anyone except for everyone listening to the podcast.
Right.
Yeah.
We didn't have the credit to even like qualify to rent.
Yeah.
We lucked out. We were on Facebook Marketplace, and some place up the road was like, hey, we just got jobs in Bountiful. We're going to need to like rent out for the last couple months.
Yeah.
A 420 square foot apartment in Sandy. It's like, hey, here we are. Let us know how we can Venmo you.
Yeah.
But yeah, what she was saying, there were days that we had $12 to our name.
Yeah.
So the only thing that we could afford was...
It never affected our marriage. Ever.
That's impressive, because me and my wife have gone through some shit, right? And we're always going to be going through shit. The more you try to level up, you just have to pass through even bigger piles of shit.
Yeah.
Right? The piles of shit just get bigger, right? Yep. That's just how it happens. And it takes a toll. So the fact that it hasn't really affected your marriage that much that's impressive alone. Because you guys must, okay, what's the secret to that then? How do you do that? Because for me personally, when me and my wife got through it, it's like, holy shit, the stresses that takes on everything, even just sitting down at dinner is just like even just the small things,
your chest feels all clenched.
Yes.
You feel like you can't breathe. Like, we've been there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It obviously we were stressed at the time, but it never affected our marriage at all.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why, and I'm not saying that you guys didn't marry for this reason, but I think the reason I didn't marry him for money.
Yeah.
We didn't have money before we got married.
Right.
I knew what I was getting into going into it.
Right.
And two, the only thing that matters to me is spending time with him.
You married him for the beard.
Yes.
I didn't have a beard at that
You
time.
didn't?
I had some scruff.
Okay, well, there's hope for all of us. You see this, gentlemen? There's hope for all of us.
So as long as I was with him, I was good. It was when I was by myself, that's when I would get super stressed out.
Yeah, right.
But it's I could be dirt poor, and we were, and less than poor.
Yeah.
And I was happy as long as we were together.
Yeah,
So,
well, to me, here's the thing. I've had people when people see awards like this, right? $50 million in sales, right? Or 7-figure awards, or like producing a business where you have 30 employees, right? They see this, they go, damn, right? They go, damn, like, how'd you do that? You want to know the best answer? A lot of tears.
Yeah.
I'm serious. Do you have any idea how many tears were shed in the journey to get to this point? And I'm listening to you guys, and that's why I love these conversations on the podcast. And that's why I love the one question I ask everybody is, what's your story? Because if you've done something incredible, if you've accomplished something, you know what it was? It wasn't a sunshine and rainbow opportunity. It wasn't this perfect trajectory of path that just got us here. Well, actually, it was a simple decision to do this, and it was actually really easy. No. It fucking sucks. It sucks, right? And you know what happens is you don't know how you're going to get through it. As an entrepreneur, as a business owner, there's a lot of temptation for you to sell out and go get a job. Right? There's a lot of opportunities for you to quit along the way. There's a lot of reasons why it's not going to work. It's the people who found a way to make it work. That's what's so impressive to me. Yeah. Right. And that's why I love these conversations, because when you say, you know, barely having money for rent, I think of the times when, for me, and I just like, it literally spikes anxiety in me already in this conversation, just thinking about that, just remembering those feelings. Right. And remembering the time sitting on the couch and like begging my wife and telling her, like, I promise I'll make it work. You know, because she's sitting there looking at the account, and then her mind, she's counting up the bills coming up for the next month. And she goes, what are we going to do? And you have to just sit there and say, I don't know, but I'll figure it out.
Yep.
You know,
right?
I'm gonna elaborate. I think I'm gonna go back a little bit. I think the reason it didn't affect our marriage is because we bore it. We took it on together instead of stressing about it separately. Right. We came together and stressed about it. Yeah. So it's like the stress was definitely still there, but we did it and we went through it together. I feel like a lot of relationships, they pull away from each other, they stress about it, and then your mind goes in very dark turns, and then it ends the way that it does for a lot of people.
It's like, I forget the exact statistic, but somewhere along the lines of like 80% of marriages fail because of financial reasons.
Like that's the top, one of the top.
Number one reason why marriages fail is finances.
Yeah, 100%. And so for us, like, it was hard and it sucked. We had some dark days for sure, but we knew we were doing what we were supposed to do. Like, it wasn't that there was a light at the end of the tunnel. It was more of like just a feeling of, hey, keep pushing through it. You know, it's going to work out. Yeah. So that's the biggest thing for us, because we had a lot of friends and family, you know, like I had debt collectors somehow contacting my brother's father-in-law.
I can't tell you how embarrassing that was. Like,
like to have my older brother.
Well, they have all your data.
But like to have my older brother, who I look up to so much, call me and be like, hey, so my father-in-law got a call from some bank that you owe for some car repair on your Jeep. Like, and it's like, dude, we got to figure something out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. You know? So we leaned into each other, and then we leaned into God. Yeah. That's the only way you're going to make it through this world.
Yes.
Through this life is if you lean into God.
Amen. Oh, I love it. So Dreadful Hippie's growing, you know, you've created a massive community, right? But let's like touch on the topic of like, you guys are also now wanting to dive into helping other entrepreneurs build their businesses, right? That's pretty on par with what you guys are, where you guys are moving to, right? You own your business, it's growing. Now you also want to take on the task of helping other entrepreneurs in their businesses. So it's a lot, right? It's a lot. Take that on. Why? Why do it?
Why do it?
Yeah.
Why do it? Because we want to watch other people suffer. Building businesses.
That's fair. That's fair.
I think it's because there's just been so much like unknown and pain going on in the world, like with what seems like very little hope. So being able to see, you know, my parents who have gone from, you know, I'm going to retire in 17 more years after my kids have all graduated, like going from that mentality.
And your body's beat to crap from lifting boxes 200 times a day.
I mean, we used to go over to my parents' house and my dad would sit in his recliner and he'd watch TV, and like that was the extent of seeing my dad. Yeah. And seeing him like twiddle his fingers, like not knowing what to do when he almost chopped his finger off and had to take 3 months off. Like he literally like didn't know like what to do. Yeah, right. So seeing him break out of that shell and seeing my dad come back, like that was so rewarding. And it's just seeing people see light or hope, like have hope again, that, you know, they don't have to live the way that the narrative
Right.
tells you to.
Right.
I want to see people have that hope again
Mm-hmm.
to have the life that they want.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's powerful stuff because, like, for me, I believe, I love this country more than anything, right? I love America, but I believe where we're heading is really some dark times.
Yeah.
There's no question. Where we're heading for some really dark times, right? And if you look at the way the Constitution of the United States was written, if you look at just how the structure of this country is written, ultimately the people who will win and how it's meant to benefit are the business owners and the landowners. That is it. Those are the people who hold the power in this country, right? And I think one of the most empowering things anyone could learn is how to make money on their own, not reliant on a job.
Yeah.
Right? Owning your fate, like owning the fact that if you fail, it's because you allowed it to, or if you succeed, it's also because you allowed it to, right? And ultimately, at the end of the day, that's my goal as well. Is I want to help as many entrepreneurs as I can build their business and have as much success as possible by owning their own destiny, owning their own fate, right? Going through that journey. And the thing is, like, I think I say this all the time, and people are like, almost think I hate jobs. I don't hate jobs because if that's what you want to do, I respect it, right?
Yeah.
I just don't want to have a job, in a sense of like working for somebody else. I want to own the fact that I'm creating jobs for other people, that I'm creating opportunities for other people, and not letting other people dictate the outcome of my life. So I love what you guys are doing, and taking that on, because I think more and more people need to learn that, especially since we're heading for such dark times. One of the most powerful things you can learn is how to take matters into your own hands.
I don't hate jobs. I hate jobs for people who want more out of life.
People are satisfied with it.
And that's fine.
Right.
Like, they're happy.
Right.
But for that other very large percentage of people who aren't happy and think that their life is just that's all that they have, that sucks.
Yes. I would not be happy in a job.
No.
And those people who are happy in a job, awesome. I would not be happy.
Yeah.
Just not doing what I love. And what I love is working with people.
Yeah.
Like building, that's what I love to do, right?
Well, let's talk about that for a second there. There's the law of the harvest where you reap what you sow.
Right.
So, like, take me, for example, 4 or 5 years ago when I was 21, at this call center job, I'd work 40 to 45 hours a week.
Yeah.
And, it was a sales job and I had commission. So it's like I did determine my paycheck to an extent.
Right.
But working at that place for a year and a half, I had capped out everything that I could learn there. I felt like, at least, when it came to sales. I didn't really care to climb the corporate ladder, become a manager, all that good stuff. But at the time, it's like I felt like I was making good money for a 21-year-old whose rent was only $300 because I shared a room with my cousin.
Right. Yeah.
And all this stuff. But it's like being a business owner is exciting because there's we've worked extremely hard to get to where we're at, and we're seeing the benefits of our work from 2 or 3 years ago.
Right.
There's several days out of the week where we wake up and we have 2 or 3 orders that are the size of my entire week-long paycheck.
Right.
At my last job.
Yeah.
So it's exciting to see that because it's we want other people to experience that. It's really cool.
If it's what they want.
Yeah.
If it's what they want. If they want to put the work in. If they do put the work in.
Right.
So it's just the best thing that you could do is for yourself is learn to be an entrepreneur in some sort, or figure out some kind of sales job.
I agree. I mean, entrepreneurs are salesmen, and you're in sales if you're an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
And guess what? If you're in sales, that means you're also in an entrepreneurship setting where you reap what you sow, you eat what you kill, so to speak, right?
But you want to be a better husband, a better father, learn sales.
Oh yeah.
Learn to negotiate, to persuade, to do good.
That's right. Yeah. Right.
Don't learn it to do evil in this world.
Yeah. Don't persuade your wife. What? Well, awesome, guys. Guys, we spit some fire on this podcast, right? Time's flown by, but if there's one message you'd want to leave with our audience, what would it be?
To give more. The only way you can receive anything is to give.
Yeah.
I mean, it's his favorite analogy about the plant. In order for the plant to give off oxygen, it has to take in carbon dioxide that we give off.
Yeah.
So I would just say to give more, and it's scary sometimes, especially when you don't have the money or you don't think you have anything to give. If it's not finances, give time or give love or give whatever it is. Everyone has something to give.
Right.
Well,
And in turn, you will receive.
100%. We met you probably, a little over a year ago?
Yeah, probably about that, yeah.
At a $100 dinner club.
Yeah, that's right.
What it's called.
That's right.
Where we each gave a $100 tip to a restaurant that struggled through COVID. And it's like we weren't expecting to make cool relationships. We literally just wanted to go and give $200 between the both of us.
You have become a big part of our story, so he'll elaborate on that.
True. Yeah, I mean, if we do want to talk about that as kind of closing up, but like, we met you a year ago at a $100 dinner club.
We didn't necessarily have a ton of money to like give at that point,
right?
But we decided to. We met you at Mackenzie, and then about a year later, you put on AlphaCon. AlphaCon was hands down the best event that we've ever attended, and I'm not just saying that. We have said that to many people.
We've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on events and just learning and stuff, and we learned more in 2 days at your event.
The value that you provided.
I appreciate that.
We're not saying that.
No,
we mean that.
The value
you guys know the hate that I got and all the shit that it went into putting that on. That means the world to me.
Like I said earlier, anything that has value has an insane amount of pushback.
Yes, true.
So the amount of value that we got from your event, the connections that we made, like since attending your event, our business is rapidly. Like we have a lot of huge projects that we're working on simply because of the value that you provided at that event. And it was all because we attended a $100 dinner club to give back, and it gave back tenfold.
Wow.
More than that,
yeah.
Well, guys, that means the world. Seriously, like, I just love being around you guys just because you guys, you're just fun to be around. Just good people, So, it's just hard. It's hard not to smile around you guys. So I'm excited for what you guys are accomplishing, what you guys are doing. And, it just means the world to just call you both friends, it means a lot. So thank you guys. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Well, awesome. Well, if people want to get a hold of you guys, what's the best place to do it? Off Dreadful Hippie on Instagram, right? And it's actually Dali McGee on Instagram, right?
Just a nickname I've had my whole life, but hardly few people actually call me Dali.
Right. They call you Thor. Right?
Yeah, the skinny Thor.
Yeah.
Well, we'll link all this in the bio for this. Any other place we can send people to get a hold of you guys or anything else?
You can find us anywhere.
Like you'll either find us with Dreadful Hippie spelled with 2 L's, or like anything else. It's just Ellie McGee, like TikTok accounts. Yeah. But
if you have like business related questions, probably my
yeah. If I DM you, am I gonna be like, by the way, you look so pretty?
Probably my account.
I get a lot of anxiety with messages, so Dallas takes the brunt of all that.
There you go.
Yeah, unless you're like one of her close friends, she doesn't really respond to DMs.
Right. Yeah.
But anywhere, Dreadful Hippie, you can find it on any platform, YouTube, whatever.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on to the bullpen, guys. It was a pleasure having you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming on, bro. Thanks for coming on.